Are you looking for practical guidance on how can any one of us free ourselves from the financial and emotional binds of the modern life, just simply to build a better lifestyle that is still authentic and rewarding? If that's you, stay with me. Today we talk about minimalism.
Welcome to your podcast, Online Marketing with Juan Llerena. To succeed in any entrepreneurial project, you need to get prepared and you must learn to learn, unlearn and relearn. In this podcast, we'll help you in 3 ways. First, giving you an opportunity to join a community of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs just like you, to support you and learn from each other. Second, by bringing you for free tools, tips and tricks to help you advance your projects faster and to teach you how to let the world know about your products and services. Third, by providing you with inspiration, motivation, and ideas to continue your entrepreneurial journey. We cover subjects of marketing, sales, leadership, and entrepreneurship. Join our tribe of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs and take charge of your destiny. What are we waiting for? Let's get started.
Good morning, entrepreneurs at heart. Welcome to your online marketing podcast with Juan Llerena. Welcome to this 6th episode. Yes, it's already the 6th episode. We're halfway through our 3rd season when I'm doing book reviews. And today I'm talking about a topic, a theme, a conversation, or I should really say a monologue about something that I'm very passionate about, which is minimalism. So today I am bringing you a review about a book I read a while ago, and it is a book I really like it. I think you are going to enjoy it as well. It is called Minimalism: Live a Meaningful Life. It's a book back from 2011 written by Joshua Fields Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus. Again, this probably half an hour podcast, maybe 45 minutes podcast from today is not really looking to replace this interesting topic, but I consider myself a minimalist. And because of that, I really think you should pay attention and listen, because it is not maybe what you think it is. And so maybe you can live a big life and still be a minimalist. Just having said that, let's just dig in. Not without before our call to action from today. And today I will invite you to visit my website at jlbmedia.com and sign up to our VIP newsletter. So I want to thank for all of those of you who have been following this show. I appreciate the comments you're sending me directly into my comment section on the website, or to some of those that are sending me emails. Like I said, I'd rather you send me comments via the interface that is on my website, because it sends those are going through a different priority. If you send me just a random email, it just kind of follows into a lower priority, just because the way I have it organized, and I have a Gmail set up to filter things and to place things depending on how important they are. So I do really appreciate your input, and if you want a faster response, I would really recommend you to follow my contact form at jlbmedia.com. All right, that's it. So Minimalism: Living a Meaningful Life, back from 2011. It is a book I picked because it really makes us reflect and hopefully helps us focus on what's important in life and what is important in life for you, what is important in life for me. There are things that we are as humans, and just for the sake of our own mental health and for having a more joyful life and a more fulfilling life, it is that we need to consider becoming minimalist. And minimalism, just to begin with, it doesn't really mean to just get rid of everything, just live in a shoebox and quit your job and just take on the first non-profit job that you can and just kind of eat mac and cheese every day. It really isn't anything about that. What it really minimalism is, and I'm just gonna oversimplify it. So please, if you are a minimalism expert, if you have a PhD in minimalism, please, I hope that you don't get mad, because I'm just gonna oversimplify this just because of the lack of time and just to make it easier to understand for anybody that is listening. So minimalism is really getting rid of all of those things that don't add any value to your life and that create Minimalism is really getting rid of all of those things that don't add up anything into your life and that are actually subtracting from your life. So it can be either, unhealthy relations or relationships. It can be, distractions. It can be collections of things that don't really add any, like I said, value to your life. It is not really enjoyable anymore. It's not teaching you something. It's not making it enjoyable. It is not something that is creating more opportunities for you to do the things that you want. So if accumulating stuff is something that makes you happy, well, you have to rethink and maybe really look with a different angle and a different set of glasses, and maybe start trying to find out whether that is really making you happy because of the happiness and joy that it brings you to collect something, or if you are just accumulating stuff just because that's what everybody else does. Okay, so I'm gonna break it down a little more, and I'm gonna use this book as a reference because many times we drain ourselves emotionally and financially just trying to live a life that we consider is a modern life and that is a cool life, just trying to follow patterns and what we hear from others and what we see is happening sometimes on social media, on the news, and we assume that everybody is just really, like super happy doing things that we're just copying, and we're not really being ourselves, and we're not really pursuing what those things are that do make us happy. Okay, so to tell you an example about this, I wanted to get into podcasting, like 3 years ago, and I had this idea on for a while, like it was kind of earlier in the podcasting time. So I have been following some podcasts, and I got inspiration from some of them as far as what I wanted to do and how often I wanted to do. But it represented for me like many challenges. So like for me, podcasting really brings me happiness. It brings me joy. I'm looking to build a community. It's a community that's slowly growing, and I'm just so excited that through this podcast, as little or as big as it becomes, it's just a way to put a voice for those that don't have a voice, or for those that want to share something, and this is a vehicle for that. So I hope that you can be represented, or that if you are not being represented, that you feel that you're learning something, you're hearing experiences or opportunities for you to learn something different that you maybe never really thought about with that angle. Okay, but I'm sorry, I'm derailing here. So getting back to minimalism, and the reason why I brought that is because to me at the beginning, setting up the podcast, and I was trying to do one every day, every morning, and have it edited and getting it put out there right away before getting into other chores of the day and getting into other activities, and it became so stressful. So all of a sudden, podcasting wasn't really bringing me joy. It was just bringing me stress, anxiety, and then just worry, and I was losing my sleep, and it was just too much. So now I changed it up. I decided to take a different approach. I pre-record these podcast shows. So like today, right now, I'm doing this one from my car, and I'm just sitting on the side of the road. It's a beautiful day of the week. I'm recording this, I think it's about 3 weeks in advance prior to this podcast going out there and on the air. So I'm recording this 3 weeks in advance before you hear it. And it's a beautiful sunny day. It's like 30 degrees in Minnesota, and yeah, it's only 30 degrees, but the sun is just out and it's just beautiful. And I'm just doing it. It just gives me joy. It gives me happiness, and it makes me feel good. And it is creating opportunities for me to connect with people that I otherwise would have never really accessed. So that's why I invite you to come and join this community, because the moment you start doing things that fill your heart with joy, that when you're following your passion and you can make a living out of it, by any means I'm making a living out of podcasting, but it's a way for me to get to other goals that I want to achieve. And that's just putting myself out there, creating contacts, getting some consulting gigs and jobs and things. And like I said, you never really know. But so if you're the kind of person that is working yourself to that by working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours just to have toys and the latest computers, the latest video games, the latest gear, the latest clothes, the nicest shoes, the nicest car, and you realize that you have very little time to find your own happiness, that you realize that you haven't devoted your life to make it a better life, that you haven't been able to find a job that it fills your heart, where you feel that you're learning and that you're contributing and that you are adding and that you're making something better in this world out of a product or a service or a company or out of yourself. And if you're living paycheck by paycheck, well, you probably need to consider minimalism. And in this author's experience, minimalism is about reprogramming your mind and your body away from, in many cases, the corporate culture of fast foods and stuff that gets thrown away, disposable goods, and guess what? Instant gratification. Yes, instant gratification is something that is being sold to us as something that we want, something that we need, when, listen to me, that it isn't true. In some instances, yes, but in some instances, you don't need that to be really happy. And that's what we're losing, being on the present moment, being on the present, being on the now. When you're kissing your loved ones, when you're hugging and you're getting distracted because of that cell phone, because of that TV, because of that laptop, because of all of these other things that we have to do, maybe it's time for us to become more minimalist and start adding these concepts to our lives. So I like this book because the approach is that with some simple techniques and a little bit of effort, you can really reclaim your life. You can declare it all from all that stuff that is just empty, stuff that is hollow, stuff that is useless to you. And instead, the proposition is to refill it with meaningful and purpose. And so the moment you start finding that your life is filled with meaning and being a purposeful life, then you're happy. You're gonna be happier, and you're gonna be more encouraged to do more of that. Okay. I like it in this book because it also talks about how money and stressful jobs are not really the key to happiness. Okay, so probably at some point of our lives, and if you're much younger, if you're still going through college, if you're still in high school and you're listening to this, well, I hope you don't really have to go through this. But in some cases, for some of us, yes, I'm in my 40s now. I'm 43-year-old today. Well, not today, but just turned 43 a week ago. And when we were much younger, when we start looking at life, we look from like the the rear view mirror from our vehicles, and we actually look at where we are today, and we can look back and see, okay, all of these things happened for a reason. And I'm a truly believer that everything does happen for a reason. There's really little coincidences, okay? Sometimes you might think it's a coincidence, but if you wouldn't be there, if you wouldn't have make that effort to be there, maybe that never would happen, right? And sometimes some things happen where we think it's for bad, but we don't know. We're just learning lessons. And maybe that thing that you're going through right now today is that one stepping stone you need to get through to learn from, and hopefully you learn from it, to make yourself better, to give yourself a chance to have a better tomorrow, to have a better, older you, a better version of you. And that's the only really things you can challenge, is to be in competition with you, not with anybody else, not comparing yourself to anybody else. And that's what society is pushing us to do. It's like we're comparing ourselves to YouTubers, to people on Facebook. You see everybody happy. You don't see anybody like posting, negative stuff. I mean, you do see some, but the most popular people, the most successful people, at least some people's perception, are those that seem that they have it all, that they're prettier, that they're healthier, that they're bigger, that they're taller, that they're stronger, that they're fitter, and fitter and all of that. And in many cases that is not true. So in essence, you have to find your true self and what it really moves you to be able to find what that is. So if it is for you now a larger paycheck, and who wouldn't want a larger paycheck, right? Maybe you're not making enough, right? But and this story in this book, from the author's perspective, they had to work so far, and they had to make a lot of sacrifices. They started postponing their family, their relationships. They wanted to have a better job, a bigger job, and they started accomplishing some of that. So at some point they wanted to get like $50,000 a year, which isn't too bad. And when they accomplished that wasn't enough. They wanted more. And they, and all of a sudden they wanted to make $75,000, and then they wanted to make $100,000. And when they guess what? When they got all of that, what? Were they happy? Were their life better and more meaningful? No. At every single point along the road, when they were just chasing money and bigger, fatter paychecks, they were just feeling dissatisfied. Okay? So that's not the answer. Okay, and why do we want like a larger paychecks? Because we want to afford lifestyles that don't really mean anything to us or to you deep in your heart. You have to look, and that sooner or later you're going to realize, and I hope it's sooner than later. So when the authors decided to adopt this lifestyle of minimalism, and they decided to start working less, which it doesn't mean less quality or poorer work or just becoming lazier. It means probably becoming more efficient, doing less things but that are more powerful. And that's why you have to consider all the rules like the 80-20 rule. And we can talk about that. If you have any questions, we can do a podcast show about that as well. But anyways, and so like this book later on also it explains how you can start shifting to these minimalism practices, which is getting rid of things that you don't need. Stop buying the things that you don't use or that you are just having just because everybody else has. Maybe you're still paying $40, $50, $60, $70 on cable, and you don't need that anymore. Maybe you're paying too much on your phones, on little things that you think you should have but you really don't. Okay, and getting your affairs in order and all your debts and your financial situation in order. Maybe you're getting even educated a little bit better about your own finances. Okay, so sometimes, and this is an interesting idea that I have here in my notes, is that sometimes having a credit card or listening to these credit card ads or having somebody at the bank telling us that you need a bigger mortgage, you need a bigger house to write off more debt, and you start getting deeper into debt, then you're falling into this trap where you just need more money to survive, just to make ends meet. And that is not necessarily true. Everybody has a different need for everything. Maybe you need a 6-bedroom house. Maybe you need an apartment that is a 1-bedroom apartment, or maybe you can be just as happy with one studio. It really all depends on your needs, on your family, and your own preferences. So there's no real rule that to be a minimalist you have to be living, like I said, in a studio or in a shoebox, right? You can be nice and you can dress nice and you can do things, but the whole point is you can't let that determine who you are. And that's something that we should consider, because sometimes we are just letting our possessions define who we are, and we let people think that who we are is what we have, what we wear, what position, what title we have with the kind of work we do at this big corporate job. And out of my own experience, I've talked to people working for like large corporations like General Mills and other ones. They're like food scientists or people that are like in engineering or food engineering, and they have quit their jobs. Guess what? Or why? Because they did not get their hearts filled. They got probably a good, big paychecks, but they weren't happy about that. And at some point in their life, they decided to do a career change. Okay, so not everything is just about the money, and you need to know that. And not everything is about having, and having this endless need to have more. Minimalism is also about reducing the amount of junk you put into your body. Okay, so if you want to be a minimalist, well, you shouldn't be looking at fads, like diets and different quick drop 10 pounds a day program out there. Because in fact, it's going to take some work. You have to figure out what you're putting into your body. You have to figure out what is overwhelming your body and what is overwhelming your mental health with the kind of stuff you're putting in your body. So if you're eating too much processed foods and you're spending a lot of extra money into getting all this kind of junk food into your system, then it's going to be so much harder for you to enjoy life at its fullest, how to have a clearer vision and a more stronger desire and willingness to do the things that you want to do, because that food is just going to dread you. It's just going to get you tired. That sugar is going to have you craving for more sugar, and you're never going to get out of that circle. So if you want to have a happier life and become more happy about the things that you do, how you feel with yourself and how you see yourself in this world, you need to start looking at the kind of foods that you're consuming. Does it have any extra additives or preservatives? Are those adding, anything good to your body, to your diet? Are those things just putting sugar in your body and then you're crashing like crazy and you just feel like you're temporarily happy and then all of a sudden you're just crashing down real bad and maybe becoming depressed and anxious because you don't see any results you want by doing a little bit of workout? So you have to look at, maybe try different things, like a caveman diet. And if you can tolerate, whole foods, well, maybe try something different, something that works for you, with a certain tolerance where you don't feel like you're making large sacrifices, but start small. Start small. One, buy one less snack. Save that money, use it for something more positive, something a little more fulfilling, like maybe taking that trip to that one place you always wanted to go that you never had the money to. Take that extra savings to take your partner, your friend, that your mom, your dad, your daughter, your kid, to go to the zoo, and all of a sudden you're doing stuff that you didn't think you could do because you just spend it in just junk, things that really didn't add any good memories to your life, any good values to your life. And just, if you can imagine, just kind of going to do something with your kid or your wife or your husband or your better half or your friend, and you call that one friend that you never called because you don't think you can spend a good lunch with them or with her, with him, and then you make some sacrifices, small sacrifices, but you start treasuring those moments, and those are going to be the things that people will remember you by, and that will be reminded for. Building those relationships, and I know we all can do that. I know I can do more of that. So instead of, and this is an interesting approach, so instead of telling yourself something like, maybe I should go run out tomorrow every day at 8 a.m. for a couple miles. It is good. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but instead of that, maybe you should say, I must go for a run tomorrow at 8 a.m. So if you make, clear goals that are that are attainable, that are easy to do, but you put that strength into telling you and telling your mind what you need to do, and going one step further and talking to other people, maybe have an accountability partner out there. Maybe you're part of a group that is going to help you account for what you have decided to do, and that is just gonna change your life, because the moment you start setting those little goals that are attainable, that you write them down, that you tell them to somebody, and that you feel a little more, pressure to do, because you're accountable now, then you're gonna be happier when you start, getting those things in, little by little. Okay, now, changing and improvement don't have to impact you or your authenticity. They can really lead to better relationships. It is really hopeless, and this is so true for many of us, is that sometimes we want people to be like us, right? Why don't you just hang out with yourself? Why don't you just marry to yourself? We want our friends to be just like us. We want people to talk like we do. We want people to look like we do. We want people to like we like. So how do we give these relationships opportunities to grow, to develop into beautiful relationships, into good stuff, into good opportunities even for work, even for developing our professional lives, and those, the service projects, and just about everything else, when we are only judging people, if we're just looking at what they're bad at and we're not looking at what they're good at. So it is hopeless to try to change other people. In fact, it's even cruel to try to change other people. Why don't you just improve yourself? Why don't you just kind of change yourself and just try to be more authentic? And then you're going to realize that you're going to be less unhappy, and maybe you can just appreciate people for who they are. And maybe, people will appreciate you too more for who you are. So don't try to change yourself. I'm not trying to change myself. I'm happy with my accent. I'm happy with the way I talk. I'm happy with who I am. I still know that there are many things that I need to change, but I have to have the same approach about others, and I have to be compassionate and understanding and respectful and appreciative of their time, of their relationship, of their smile. Another way for us to improve ourselves is to be more accepting with those who are different of our own. I was just spending some time at a podcasting live event with somebody I recently met that I've been following for quite some time, Tony Lloyd, and he's got a podcast, Social Entrepreneur. I'm just sending this message. He doesn't even know. He probably doesn't even need to listen to my podcast. But anyway, so I was just inspired because out of this conversation, people were really mentioning how to create opportunities, you have to come out of your shell, you have to come out of your comfort zone, and you have to put yourself into those situations that are going to lead into other opportunities. Well, kind of analogy to that is like this. You have to put up yourself out there and try to create even positive relationships with people that are different than you. There are people that are more different than you, so you can learn what can be improved. You can discover so many more opportunities for you and for others, and how we can make this society better by just putting yourself out there and not being so judgmental. Okay, so relationships aren't always going to be about, that people like what you like and do the things that you do, but relationships are really about love, and really trying to come up open and being understandable of what other people's interests are and what they're thinking, how they're thinking, and maybe trying to be in those shoes. At least try to listen, try to be more empathetic, even though that doesn't mean that it's going to change your mind, but at least you open your heart and maybe something special can happen for you. So with this in mind, I wanted to share something I read in this book that I also had set for my notes. There are 4 steps that the authors recommend to help you better tolerate, accept, respect, and appreciate the person you're with, whoever that is. And that is called the TARA method, and that's TARA, which the first one is tolerate. To tolerate people's unique hobbies or passions. Accept that it will always be there, so don't try to change them. Respect the effort your partner puts into their pastime. So respect that. It's something that maybe for you it doesn't make any sense. I got friends that do things that I have like, okay, this isn't a hobby, right? But respect that, and the final one is appreciate the hobby as a part of your life, because it's an important part of your loved one's life too. Okay, so you have to be understandable of that, and sometimes it isn't gonna be easy. Again, don't let work define you as a person. Okay, to summarize this a little bit, when you're out there, when you're going networking, when you meet somebody, a lot of people ask, so what do you do? Sometimes I've done that myself, like, what do you do? And sometimes people are trying to ask you, okay, how do you help me? How can you serve me? How could I use you? They ask you, what do you do? Don't you do that? Or don't people do that all the time to you? So instead of asking that early in the conversation, as if this is the most important part of the conversation, of the most important part of somebody's life, maybe why not asking a different question? So maybe ask them, what are your passions? What are you into? What are your hobbies? What are you into now? What do you enjoy doing? How do you keep yourself entertained? What does it make you happy? How do you keep yourself happy? And busy. So in this case, if somebody asks you, what do you do? Maybe you can tell them, well, or what do you do? Maybe you can always redirect this conversation with something like, well, I do a lot of things, but right now this is what I enjoy doing the most. Like, oh, I'm running now and I'm preparing for this marathon. So then all of a sudden this is what you're enjoying now, and you're changing the subject. Now you need to figure out ways, and again, one more time, I'm gonna say this: you have to figure out ways to reduce your dependency on money, more money than you have, more money than what you can do, so you can free up some of your time to follow your passions and to make those passions turn them into maybe entrepreneurship, maybe into entrepreneurial projects, and give yourself a chance to run with that, with your passion, and maybe you'll have a better chances for success. So one more time, you need to educate yourself about money. And one of the that I'm not gonna get too much into detail, but one of the chapters in this book is that the author suggests is to have like separate accounts for, one for pleasure, one for savings, one for like eating out money, one for, like different accounts, and it really depends on what works best for you than for others. But basically, it's when you take something out of somewhere, then or something that you're overspending on one area, then you know that you're gonna have to sacrifice in another area. So for instance, if you're going to buy an extra pair of shoes that you had saved for, and your goal was to spend $40, and then you're spending $60 because you found these other ones that are better for you, that you like better, and you have this fund for like a trip vacation, well, maybe you're gonna have to subtract from that trip vacation. Okay, don't just start overspending just so you get what you want, but you don't really even pay attention to what it's really costing you, okay? And don't make money so accessible. It's so easy to have a credit card on the pocket, and then you pay, and sometimes you don't even realize how much you paid. You know, you go to the supermarket, you go to the store, and then, okay, your total is whatever, and then you hand out the card, and then you get charged, you sign, you walk away, you don't even know what you pay for. So, you know, try to maybe carry some more cash, or find some ways to have limited amount of, you know, like a transferable balance that you can update and put in a temporary account, like a debit account, you know, that you can just keep money in there, minimum amount, so you can be more accountable for what's in there. And every time you transfer money, you see that you're moving money from one place to the other, and that will probably help you stick to some particular limits or budgets that you are creating for yourself, okay? It is important too that you create activities that are challenging for you, okay? So when I said, well, maybe you don't run at all, right? You're not gonna start training for a marathon tomorrow. You know, you're just gonna get hurt, you're gonna get injured, you're gonna get discouraged. So the minimalist approach is, well, start small, you know, but work yourself towards that, make yourself do it. And maybe when you achieve that, well, then you just turn them into larger goals. Maybe the next goal will be to do something what you think is impossible. What is that? Well, maybe run a marathon. Well, you don't think you can run a marathon ever, right? Well, possibly, unless you have some physical restrictions, you know, you probably shouldn't do it. And I'm not telling you should, just so you know. But if you can and you're healthy, well, maybe you can set a goal that you would otherwise think is just impossible. And let me tell you that when you do that, and I've done that myself, when you accomplish something that it just seems so far away and so unattainable, then something changes in you. And then you start believing more in yourself. And you start having more confidence. And you start going after other goals that you would have never thought you were capable of doing. So your self-esteem builds. And then you start becoming, guess what? Happier, okay? So one more final summary for this book, and it is that don't let your job define you. You're not your job title. There is people that have some great titles that are the happiest people on this planet. Why? Because they're just so tied to that job that they're not happy about, that they feel they cannot live it because they have to pay those bills that they can get rid of because their life are just so chaotic now, and they're just trying to live lifestyles that aren't making them happy, but they feel somehow that they have to fit in. So don't let that happen to you. You can restart your life, you can reset your life, and start looking at what is the stuff that is adding value to you, simply by living in a way that you can open up to others, and valuing relationships, and putting relationships first with people instead of what they do and what they have. Okay? Don't forget as well as trying to be open with people that are more diverse in many different ways. Maybe it's their different preferences about what they think on different important issues that are important for you in life or that are important for them. Maybe they're different from a different generation. Maybe they're older, they're younger, they're millennials, they're same Generation C people. Maybe they're millennials, maybe they're baby boomers, right? Each one has its goods and bads, their ups and downs, their positives and negatives. Maybe you need to hang out with more women. Maybe you need to hang out with more men. You need to learn and hear what their pains are, what their aches are. Maybe that can put you in a position to do something good for others when you learn from it. And if you keep yourself in a bubble, that's never going to happen. Okay, my friends, so that is really an interesting topic about minimalism. I could keep going and going and going. This is already, we just went past the half an hour podcast, and I don't want to bother you so much. So I'm going to leave it there. If you want to read more, get this book. I recommend it, or any other book about minimalism. Or actually, if you want to talk to me about it, why don't we make a group about minimalism? And maybe we can, meet somewhere and then just have coffee and talk about minimalism. Would you want to do that? Well, just send me a comment on my website. Maybe we can do a hangout on Google. Maybe we can do something like that, and we can do it from our own places and just chat about it and exchange some ideas. If you're up for that, then let me know. Okay, my friends, so I just want to wish you a great week. I thank you for your time being here. One more time, I invite you to join our email list, our VIP list. I'm not going to give you free shirts. I'm not going to give you stickers. I'm just going to give you pure, raw advice coming from my heart, from the things that I have experienced that I'm experiencing now, that I have experienced in the past, and I hope that helps you and that gets you to want to live a better, happier life, but also motivates you to get out of that couch, to get out of that chair, and maybe move, or maybe just go and talk to somebody, maybe go and connect with somebody. There's like plenty of resources in the Twin Cities and around, and for those of us who are outside the Twin Cities area, there are many ways that we also can connect to make this community, entrepreneurial community, better. And we need to work together with all peoples of all sorts of life and find ways to resolve problems, and especially problems that are particularly important for society, because I'm a social entrepreneur, and I hope that you feel a little bit about that too, and that you can come up with ideas. And there's like great people out there that probably have even better ideas than I do, but I want to facilitate that process. So join me on this work to create a community of people that supports people to help us all out. All right, that's my invitation. I hope you have a great weekend. Have a great week the rest of the week, and we come back with a new episode that I hope you enjoy. Take care. Bye.